How many of you have wished you could understand works done in other languages? How many of you have been to our neighbors to the north and south and been confused by road signs and food labels written in French and Spanish, respectively? How many of you have wished you could learn a foreign language just for the principle of the thing, or wished that your children could, or that your children could at the very least have the opportunity to learn to do so? Well, with all these questions in mind, and with your answers to these questions in mind, ask yourselves this. Why is it that in a culture such as ours, that is both so eager for and in desperate need of widespread multilingualism, our foreign language instruction programs for children in our public schools are for the most part either lacking or non-existent, despite a widely held societal belief that childhood is the only time that one can successfully learn a foreign language? Well, my answer to that question is mandatory elementary foreign language instruction. But my extra credit proposal? Mandatory elementary Esperanto education. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's first start with the why of mandatory elementary foreign language instruction. According to a study done by Shin and Kaminsky, 72.4 million people in the United States only speak English, and that is just people aged 18 to 40. In another study done by Duncan A., in 2008, only a quarter of American elementary schools offered any kind of foreign language instruction, and that's down from a third 11 years prior. And according to a 2010 MLA report by Furman, Goldberg, and Lucen, there are over 1.5 million undergraduate language enrollments in the United States, and only 17% of those go past the introductory level. Now, what are some possible reasons for this? As previously stated, there's a widely held societal belief in the United States that childhood is the only time in one's life that one can both successfully learn and retain a foreign language. And on top of that, there's also a widely held societal belief that there's some sort of polyglot gene, or that some people just don't have the mind for foreign languages or just aren't smart enough to learn foreign languages. All of this is nonsense, and its most likely cause is belief in those falsehoods. However, bearing all of that nonsense in mind, how can we both take advantage of the fabled childhood aptitude for language acquisition and instill future confidence in one's language learning abilities? Esperanto, my friends. A study was done in the 1960s at the University of Science in Budapest. People who studied Esperanto for 2 years in elementary school experienced in later language acquisition a 25% improvement in learning Russian, 30% in learning German, 40% in learning English, and 50% in learning French. This is from Corsetti. Studies like this involving young children, Esperanto, and notably improved language learning acquisition in later life exist all over the world and have existed almost ever since Esperanto's invention and inception. This is from previous studies. So, what is Esperanto, and why does it seem to have this magic effect on language learning abilities? Esperanto is an auxiliary language, that is, it was never meant to be a mother tongue. It was meant to be a secondary language learned later on in one's life. And it was created by a Polish doctor named L.L. Zamenhof in the late 1800s. And it was specifically designed to be both user-friendly, that is, easy to learn, and related to a wide variety of pre-existing languages, including those in the Romance, Slavic, and even Asiatic families. However, its ease of use and its relation to all of those language families is not the main reason why I recommend teaching it to young children, although those things do have a very notable effect on later language acquisition. The main reason I recommend teaching Esperanto to young children is this. We all have that early experience that gives us confidence in our own skills. That first book that we ever read let us know we could read. That first math problem we ever solved let us know we could do math, etc. and so forth. So, why not give our children that sort of early confidence boost in the field of language acquisition, no less, which is so highly prized in our society and equated with intellectual prowess. And why not do it with a language that is not only alive and kicking to this day, with millions of speakers worldwide, but was made to be so easy that legend says of Russian author Leo Tolstoy's Esperanto learning endeavors, the basics and a substantial amount of grammar and vocabulary could be learned in 3 hours. And even if it's not learned in 3 hours, the average time one spends becoming fluent in Esperanto is nothing compared to other languages. Just saying. And the best part, what I'm proposing is already in effect. In the United Kingdom, there's an initiative called Springboard to Languages that uses Esperanto as a sort of foreign language set of training wheels. It's not designed to promote Esperanto fluency, although that's a very pleasant bonus of the program. It's designed to give children the gift of letting them know that they can, in fact, learn another language, and another, and another, and another. One of the people involved with the Springboard to Languages program, Tim Morley, spoke about the program and explained it in a TED Talk. This is from TEDx Granta, during which he made the following analogy. When a child is first learning to play musical instruments, you don't hand him a huge, complicated instrument like an oboe and expect him to master it like an older child or a teenager would. You start him off with something simple, like a recorder, to get him used to the idea, and develop his musical brain, if you will, and give him confidence in his own abilities. Programs like Springboard to Languages work on the same concept. Start with a simple language, as you would start a child on a recorder, develop that child's linguistic brain, if you will, and watch as that child grabs his language learning abilities by the handlebars and rides off into the successful acquisition sunset on lovely language training wheels. With all this in mind, bonon tagon, coran denken por via tempo, que havas agrablen vesperon. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time, and have a pleasant evening. Thank you. Good night.